Hi and welcome back. Now in this video we are going to look at the key design elements for microservices. So one of the key design element is obviously to keep the service as small as possible. Now if you keep your service large, so the code is large, the data is large, then you're going into the aspect of developing a monolith type service or application. And again, this is defeating the main purpose of making services in a microservices based architecture. So keep your services relatively small. Next, when you are building your services in the design stage, ensure that automation is kept in mind. Nowadays, all companies and organizations are going towards DevOps and automation, and hence your service should have the ability to be part of that automation pipeline. It should be easily testable, integrated with other services, and deployed easily in an automated fashion. Next is when it comes to deployment, each service should have the ability to be deployed independently. Services should be easy to maintain. Now, when you have a large number of services for your microservices application, maintenance can be a very important factor. Hence, you should have that ability to ensure that maintenance is a key aspect during the design phase for your microservices application. You should have the ability to monitor your service. So either your service should give out the right metrics for monitoring purposes and also ensure to use the right tools or decide on what tools will be used to monitor the services in your microservices application. You should also have the ability to isolate failures. Now obviously, since you're going to have multiple services running as part of your application, it can become difficult to isolate failures when your application fails. So ensure that you design your services in such a way that you can actually isolate failures at any point in time. Try to keep databases separate for each service. Now, you don't necessarily need to have a separate database engine for each service. What you can do is just create a different cluster for each service. It just kind of makes it as an independent unit for each service. Try to have an API layer that can be used to call your services. Nowadays, this is the most used architecture pattern in which you have an API layer on top of your services. The API layer just provides an interface to the services that you provide as part of your microservices application. And lastly, just ensure that these services are built around your business needs. So when we're looking at the design elements of a microservice application, so let's say you have your services along with your data. So I said club them together and have the services and data as one independent unit. And then have an API gateway or an API service that could be attached to these independent units that can be called separately. And then finally, you will have your clients which will call the services via an API gateway or an API service. So now let's go on to our next section, which is AWS options for microservices.